Hello and welcome to another episode of the Halloween Podcast. I am your host, Lyle Perez. There's one creature that seems to sneak its way into every Halloween decoration, story, and superstition. And no, it's not a ghost or a bat. It's the black cat. They're mysterious. They're misunderstood. And depending on who you ask, they might bring you bad luck or good fortune. But how did these sleek, shadowy felines become the spooky mascots of October? Why do they show up in so many Halloween scenes? And what's the real story behind their centuries-old reputation? In this episode, we're diving into the dark and tangled history of black cats, exploring the folklore, fears, and facts that turned them from sacred protectors to symbols of sorcery. And along the way, we'll look at how they become one of the most recognizable and controversial icons of Halloween. So curl up with your favorite familiar, keep an eye on the shadows, and let's unravel the legend of the black cat. To understand how black cats became tied to Halloween, we have to go back. In ancient times, black cats weren't feared. In fact, they were revered. In ancient Egypt, cats were considered sacred. Killing a cat, even by accident, was often punishable by death. Black cats were especially favored because of their association with protection and mystery. They were linked to Bastet, the cat-headed goddess of home, fertility, and protection. Bastet was often depicted as a black cat or a woman with a cat's head, and she was seen as a guardian against evil spirits and disease. Households kept cats, often black, to ward off vermin and bad omens. In Egyptian society, cats weren't just pets. They were honored members of the family. But things changed drastically by the Middle Ages in Europe. By the 12th and 13th centuries, the Christian Church had grown increasingly suspicious of anything associated with paganism, nature worship, or folk belief. Cats, especially black ones, were caught in the crosshairs. Their nocturnal nature, glowing eyes, and stealthy behavior made them seem unnatural or demonic to some. As early as the 1320s, papal decrees condemned the supposed connection between black cats and heresy. By the time of the witch hunts in the 15th through 17th centuries, black cats were widely believed to be familiars, supernatural creatures, or spirits that assisted witches in their magical practices. According to folklore of the time, witches could shapeshift into cats or send their black cats to do their bidding at night. This led to widespread fear and brutality. In some parts of Europe, black cats were hunted, tortured, or burned alongside accused witches. In France and parts of Germany, black cats were sometimes thrown into fires during festivals as a way to ward off evil. Horrific, but historically documented. Ironically, this demonization of black cats had practical consequences. As their numbers dropped, rodent populations soared, especially in places like England. Some historians believe that the distrust of cats may have contributed to the spread of the Black Death, since fewer cats meant more rats carrying infected fleas. It's one of those grim twists in history where superstition actually made things worse. As settlers came to America, they brought these old world beliefs with them. By the colonial era, especially during the Puritan movement in New England, anything associated with witchcraft, including black cats, was feared and persecuted. Though there are no known black cats mentioned in the Salem witch trials, the connection between cats and witches had already become deeply rooted in folklore. From sacred guardians in ancient temples to hunted outcasts in Middle Ages Europe, the black cat's fall from grace was dramatic and tragic, and it laid the foundation for their later role in Halloween imagery, always lurking in the shadows, both feared and misunderstood. Black cats are surrounded by centuries of superstition, and the funny thing is, not all of it's bad. Depending on where you are in the world, a black cat might bring you misfortune, or it might just bring you luck. Let's start with the superstition that most Americans are familiar with: the belief that a black cat crossing your path is a bad omen. That idea likely dates back to the Middle Ages in Europe, when black cats were believed to be witches in disguise, or demonic spirits sent to spy on people. In this version of the myth, a black cat walking in front of you was seen as an intentional act, cutting across your path to block your progress or deliver a curse. But travel outside the US and you'll hear a very different story. In Japan, black cats are considered good luck, especially for single women. The belief is that owning one can attract potential suitors. In Scotland, a black cat appearing on your doorstep is a sign of prosperity. And in England, fishermen and sailors once believed that black cats were lucky. Some even kept them on ships to ward off storms and misfortune. Their families would keep a black cat at home, hoping it would protect their loved ones at sea. Even today, some British households still believe a black cat in the house brings good fortune. In parts of Germany, the direction the cat crosses your path matters. A black cat crossing from right to left is bad luck, but left to right is good. Superstitions, it turns out, are highly regional. Then there's the idea of the black cat as a familiar, a supernatural companion to witches. That belief was especially common in early modern Europe, where the idea of familiars first entered popular folklore. Familiars were believed to help witches cast spells, carry out curses, and even serve as messengers to the devil. The cat's independence and quiet nature only added to the fear. During the witch hunts, people believed black cats could act as extensions of a witch's soul. If the cat was seen behaving strangely, it was considered proof that the owner was practicing witchcraft. And if someone tried to harm the cat and something bad happened afterward, it confirmed people's worst fears. Interestingly, in American folklore, especially in the South, black cats were sometimes linked to hoodoo and conjure practices, where their bones or tails were believed to have magical properties. These traditions were heavily misunderstood and often demonized, adding yet another layer of fear around black cats. Over time, all these superstitions blended into our Halloween imagery. Black cats became shorthand for mystery, magic, and the unknown. Perched on a broomstick, arching their backs under a full moon, or peering from behind a gravestone, they've earned their place as one of the most recognizable Halloween figures. But as we've seen, the truth is a lot more complicated. These animals weren't born to be spooky. They were made spooky by fear, misunderstanding, and centuries of folklore. Today, when you think of Halloween decorations, you probably picture a few staples: pumpkins, witches, ghosts, and of course, the black cat. It's one of the most instantly recognizable symbols of the season. But how did that happen? The connection between black cats and Halloween really took shape in 19th century America, as Halloween evolved from a night of mischief into a commercial and family-friendly holiday. By the early 20th century, Halloween postcards, party invitations, and advertisements often featured black cats alongside other spooky imagery. They were usually drawn with arched backs, bristled fur, and glowing yellow eyes, designed to look startled or threatening. Artists like Ellen Clapsaddle and Frances Brundage helped popularize the image of the mischievous Halloween cat on vintage postcards and ephemera. These images solidified the cat's role in Halloween iconography, not as a real animal, but as a symbol of the unknown and supernatural. And that symbolism only deepened as black cats began appearing in stories, cartoons, and films. Think of Salem from Sabrina the Teenage Witch, a talking black cat with a sarcastic streak and magical powers, or Thackeray Binks from Hocus Pocus, a boy transformed into a black cat as punishment for defying a witch. In both cases, the cat is more than a pet. It's a character, full of mystery, magic, and sometimes tragedy. You'll also find black cats in shows like The Simpsons, Snowball 2, Coraline, the nameless cat that crosses between worlds, and countless Halloween episodes and commercials. They show up in children's books, Halloween cartoons, and old Rankin-slash base specials. Their image is everywhere, from party supplies to window decals. Their popularity in Halloween marketing has made them a permanent fixture on shelves and in front yards. And unlike some of the more gruesome icons, like zombies or gory clowns, black cats work for all ages. They're spooky but safe, creepy but cute. That's part of why they've stuck around so long. Unfortunately, their pop culture fame has had a downside. Because of the long-standing myths and their eerie image, black cats are still misunderstood. Some people continue to associate them with bad luck, or worse, believe they're targets during the Halloween season. Many animal shelters take precautions during October, even limiting black cat adoptions in the days leading up to Halloween. While there's no confirmed evidence of widespread harm to black cats this time of year, the fear still lingers. It's a testament to how powerful the symbolism remains, even in a world full of movies and memes. But black cats are far more than props. They've survived centuries of suspicion, religious persecution, and superstition. Today, they're loved by millions, and rightfully so. They're playful, affectionate, intelligent, and loyal. If anything, their presence in our Halloween celebrations is a reminder of how folklore can shape our view of the world, even when the facts tell a different story. Even in 2025, black cats are still dealing with the weight of centuries-old superstitions. While we no longer burn them at the stake or accuse them of witchcraft, black cats face challenges that other cats don't, especially during the Halloween season. One of the most persistent myths is that black cats are at risk of being harmed around Halloween. Animal shelters across the United States often pause or heavily screen black cat adoptions during late October. This practice began in the 1980s due to fears that black cats might be adopted for rituals, pranks, or even harm. However, recent studies and shelter reports have found little evidence of widespread abuse linked to Halloween. In fact, some experts now believe the bigger issue is that these adoption bans unintentionally discourage people from giving black cats loving homes during a time when many animals need them most. That doesn't mean black cats have it easy. Across the board, they're adopted less frequently than lighter-colored cats. Studies show that their dark fur makes them harder to photograph, which hurts adoption chances in an era where pet profiles on websites and social media drive interest. Some shelters have even started hosting special events, like Black Cat Friday around Thanksgiving, to encourage people to see how wonderful these cats really are. Another modern problem comes from the same place their reputation began: superstition. Surveys show that a surprising number of people still believe black cats bring bad luck. Others simply overlook them because they don't stand out as much as multicolored or patterned cats. Thankfully, awareness campaigns have helped shift public opinion. Pet advocates and shelters emphasize the beauty and uniqueness of black cats, pointing out that in many cultures, they're symbols of protection and prosperity. Social media has helped too. Photos of black cats under creative lighting or dressed in Halloween costumes have gone viral, giving them a new wave of appreciation. Even so, the shadow of their past lingers. Some people still hesitate when they see a black cat dart across the road or wander into their yard, and in pop culture, they're almost always portrayed as spooky or magical creatures. It's fun for Halloween, but it's not the full story. The truth is, black cats are just like any other cat, loyal, playful, and loving. The idea that they're somehow different or unlucky is nothing more than leftover folklore, yet that folklore is powerful. It's why black cats will always be part of the Halloween season, perched on fences and silhouetted under the moon. It's also why we have to keep telling their story, to remind people that behind the spooky imagery is a real animal that deserves love and respect. You know, I've had a few black cats in my life, and every single one of them left a mark on me. Not one of them brought bad luck. Not one ever felt evil or mysterious in the way stories or decorations might suggest. They were just cats. Wonderful, wild, quirky, and loyal. A long time ago, when I was about 20, I adopted this tiny black kitten. I named her Misery. Some of you might remember me mentioning her on my very first podcast, Amazing Advertising. I was young, broke, and honestly not the best pet owner. I remember one night going across the street to the liquor store to buy her food. The only thing they had was adult cat food, and she was still a kitten. I didn't know any better. She still loved me though. She'd run up and down the hallway of the mobile home I lived in, back and forth like a little shadow. She was an indoor-outdoor cat, always doing her own thing. The last time I saw her, I looked out the window and saw the neighbor picking her up and taking her inside their house. That was it. She never came back. I still wonder what happened. Then there was Talulu. He was a big black cat, huge, lazy, full of personality. He was strictly an indoor cat, but he always wanted to get outside. One day during a bad storm, I opened the front door and Talulu took off. I ran after him in the rain, in the thunder, calling out his name. He didn't want to be caught. I gave up after 10 minutes, hoping he'd come back when he got scared. But he never did. I kept that door open longer than I cared to admit, just waiting for him. The last black cat I had was the most recent and probably the most special. About 5 years ago, we went to the shelter and there was this super friendly black kitten. I put him down to look at other cats, and he climbed up the side of the cat house and literally jumped onto my wife's shoulders. That was it. We had to bring him home. We named him Salem. Salem was everything you'd want in a cat. He was a perfect hunter, kept the mice away, loved the creek behind our house. We'd find crawfish claws all over the place. He was playful and fearless, and weirdly protective of the kids. One time, my wife and youngest daughter were walking in the woods, and a group of dogs came out of nowhere. She picked up my daughter and started running, but the dogs were closing in. Then, out of nowhere, Salem came charging in, claws out, tail fluffed, and ready to fight. He chased those dogs off like he owned the place. After that, my daughter always called them the Muffin Dogs, and would proudly tell anyone who'd listen how Salem saved them. But Salem didn't live long. One morning, right as the kids were getting on the school bus, we found him in the street. He'd been hit. That was a rough day for all of us. I'll never forget it. All that to say, black cats have never been a source of fear or superstition for me. They've just been great companions, loyal, smart, full of life. I know the world has a lot of silly beliefs about black cats, but if you ask me, they're some of the best pets you can have. Black cats have been feared, worshipped, blamed, and adored. Their history is packed with superstition and symbolism, yet the truth is simple. They're just cats. Just like any other animal, they deserve love, protection, and a chance to be understood beyond the myths. From ancient Egypt to modern Halloween decorations, black cats have always carried a certain weight in our imagination. Maybe it's the mystery of their dark fur or the way they move so silently, almost like they belong to another world. But if this episode has taught us anything, it's that fear and folklore don't always match reality. I've had some amazing black cats in my life, each one different, each one unforgettable. If you've ever owned one, you probably get it. And if you haven't, I hope you walk away from this episode with a little more appreciation for these misunderstood animals. As we head into the Halloween season, maybe consider adding a black cat to your home, not as a symbol or a decoration, but as a friend. And if you've got a black cat story of your own, I'd love to hear it. Send it my way at TheHalloweenPodcast@gmail.com, and maybe I'll read a few on a future episode. Thanks for spending this time with me. If you enjoyed this show, please consider sharing it with someone who loves Halloween or who loves cats. And don't forget to leave a review. It helps more people find the podcast and keeps this show going strong. Until next time, keep the lights low, the pumpkins lit, and maybe leave a little treat out for the neighborhood black cat. You never know who or what might be watching. Have a good night.